We have a question here. It says, do you think the game is still worth collecting in the West? Somebody was trying to get playsets and clusters of everything.
Absolutely. Like that, honestly, if nothing else, like even no matter what happens, like I love the artwork. Like I'm surrounded now. Like, so we got Hook promo. I bought some what's this? Valhalla. Hey, can you guess? Maybe I was working on some ideas. Valhalla. I love the artwork. I love the old cards. I love the feeling. I'm like surrounded by cards even now, and I haven't played in a while. So it's just, yes, I love collecting. I mean, I think it's well known that I like Cheshire Cat, but like I always have some nearby.
Gotcha. I guess leading into that, it says, are you going to take a break from card games for a bit?
So probably. Like I've actually been thinking quite a bit about it, and like Force was my baby, and quite literally now at this point that I got to like be a big part of it, and it feels like a cop out to say like tired, but at the same time, like for example, a regular day for me for the last 2 years has basically been wake up at 6, answer a couple questions from like Rob or Steph in the morning, teach my classes, around lunch check on the US group and everything, answer like retailer questions or look at the company meetings and stuff going on into the afternoon, and then work on either set design or promotional stuff or talking with Edgy about future plans, etc. We're going to meetings after work, and then like on Friday nights, like every Friday I would go to the headquarters, and Edgy and I would have a 3 or 4 hour meeting, and then I would go on Friday nights to play locals, go to girlfriend's house on Saturday, or do a live stream, and maybe work on my website or like keep track of the updates and stuff. And I would be up to 1 or 2 in the morning, like talking with retailers or people that needed help, sleep, repeat, and like watching podcasts and watch Reddit and keeping up with all the data and everything. So like it was basically a 20-hour cycle just on repeat for like the last 2 years. So I love the game, but and I actually realized like a year ago, I was like, I have no exit strategy if I ever get tired. Right? I have no way out of this loop because the game at that time is like, it can't without me. And I was just like, kind of locked myself in a corner here. So that, as much as like a disappointed as I was, like a little bit of it is like, it's a chance for me to breathe for a second and kind of get my visa in order, get my research back on track, try to get some publications done, like actually do the thing that pays for my house, and like kind of focus on that for a little bit. So I definitely felt for a time like I was drifting more and more towards like 50-50 on like university and force, even though my salary is like 10 to 1 university to force. So it was one of those things where like the amount of time I was spending was not commensurate with the amount of that I was getting back financially, but as far as life experiences, it was invaluable. So it's just, now I'm just like, you know what, I can kind of work on relationship stuff and go outside and enjoy. And I felt bad because there's tons of times when my students wanted to go out and or do something, and I was like, sorry guys, I'm busy, or I gotta fly to Kobe, or I gotta go to Germany or whatever. And so there was a lot of little personal stuff that I was kind of having to chop up. But like, so I'm probably gonna take a little break, like I want to still play, but like mentally it's been so nice to just like not think about card design, not think about like if this is broken or whatever. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna play fucking Kaguya 1 Croco Sharks. Except mine's gonna be 40 full art booty cats. Get at me.
Nice.
I actually was joking with my buddy. I was like, I'm gonna go to a Wanderer tournament and just play with 40 booty cats and be like, what are you gonna do? Ban me? So yeah.
Okay. I have another question here, and I know you said there was a separation between what you guys worked on and what team worked on Casters, but this one was asking what had actually happened to Casters and why they had split apart.
Just different philosophy, and I think a big part of it was like Edgy and I were really focused on A, force of will, and B, focusing on the world. And Casters is much more popular in Japan, and that's cool. That's fine. I'm great with that. And it is actually a kind of a fun game. I think the deck building process for me is too complicated, and I'll give it credit. Like deck building in that game is super hard, and I honestly have no idea how to do it well. So, like the companies, like the people working on it, also didn't necessarily get along very well, and so there was a bit of a like, well, we want this, but Force of Will wants this, and so they just kind of were splitting. But I think actually they're going to be run / owned by the same company now. I'm not a... That was my understanding, was they're going to try to be co-owned again.
So casters like split off like, yeah, we're free, and then just a hand comes and just grabs them like.
Like, I guess, like, I know the person who invented Casters, and like, they really love it and care about it, and like, I like card games for like the social interactions and like the people. Like, I don't really give a shit what's on the cards, and like, I generally don't have like favorite cards, and I really don't like anime card games for the most part. Like I don't see Force of Will as a anime card game, but like the ones that are like, oh, this is Seiya Suzuki-san. I'm like, get the fuck out of here with that noise. Like, bad card game shit. So like the White Cross, all that shit. I just
you weren't tempted by the Gurren Lagann set even? Not even that.
No. Oh, I Jordan liked the I think it's White Cross, so I bought the Persona 5 cards, but basically it was just because one of them I can't remember her name, but she's got red hair and she looks like my ex-girlfriend, so like maybe I can get my ex to wear these clothes. I'm not opposed to putting people that are above 18 in school outfits.
So I kind of have another lead into the one. Says, why did they try to make Architect? And it says, why did it end up failing? But we never actually got word that it failed. It just stopped being talked about completely. I noticed.
So, Architect is something that they still actually do want to work on at some point. And like, the designs are all done. The artwork, I think, is all done. Just there was no future plans. Like, remember how they were kind of talking about, like, I said, like, you don't have the tools to make a TCG out of this right now, and we're already like short-staffed. Like, I'll be honest, I was on the side that was like, you should hold off on this and like, prioritize Force of Will. And so, and Rob was actually helping out with that too, and we just were like, there's interest, but I feel like it was kind of hollow, because my thing was like soul, right, to actually exist. Like, why, if it's a soulless husk like Dragonborn or like 90% of the games that Bushi puts out, like, they're not gonna last because they have nothing, there's no substance to them. It's just, look at, we put artwork that we think you'll probably like on a card game with some type of mechanics. And did you buy it? Okay, we'll make more. Did you not buy it? Okay, it's done. We'll make something new. And whereas like Force of Will had a soul and like it had what is Force of Will? It is connecting the world it's playing in real life. None of this digital card game bullshit where it's just like you don't have an opponent or a face. And it's kind of Japan culture and like bringing different like religions and cultures and all these things to the forefront and actually using historical figures. And it's fun. It's interesting. That is what Force of Will is, and people could talk about that. And I think that was missing from Architect. And like Edgy actually really wanted to push it, but I wasn't exactly sure why. And the more and more we talked about it, I just felt like it was kind of a fundamental misunderstanding of like they were trying to make a TCG for Spike, for Timmy, and for Johnny as 3 different TCGs rather than understanding the concept that those 3 psychographs will exist in any game. And rather than you can't just build a game for one psychographic type, that won't exist. And that was a like fundamental misunderstanding of that concept on their behalf. So Architect was made as the Timmy game. Casters is the Johnny game, and Force was supposed to be the Spike game. And I kind of reiterated the point, like, that's not how it works. But it kind of shows up in the gameplay. Like, you can see that that's fundamentally there. There's almost no variance in Force of Will. It's very RNG free for the most part. Casters, like I just said, building decks is ridiculously hard, so it's super Johnny friendly. And, like, yeah, there's no tournaments or anything, so it's really just kind of a look the cool deck I made. And then what's it called? Architect is like super swingy games where like you can be down to almost nothing and then like come back and like haymaker win the game on like a good draw kind of thing. So it's like very Yu-Gi-Oh-esque, except you can tell the fundamentals of the ideas are built into the games, but my philosophy was just like every game is going to have all 3, so you're better off just having a complete, fully developed game that encompasses all of those people. Like, Colin always bitches about the fucking no effect 5 drops, and it's like, they're not for you, bro, they're for fucking draft.
I was just pointing out there seemed to be more than average.
Every color.
I honestly didn't look to see. If I saw them all together, I'd probably been like, oh, one of every color. I actually didn't know that.
I kind of caught that. It just seems like green always had like one of the better ones, because like I always felt like one of them like had flying, and like that one was like.
Yeah. If you haven't noticed, you can tell when I make a set versus when other people make a set, because when other people make a set, it's very like paint by numbers. Like they'll have the exact same number of additions in each color, the exact same number of chants. Like they have kind of like a ratio that they just kind of start with and then fill it out from there. Whereas like when I design stuff, it's kind of like, nah, it fits. So like I made a red set and it was focused around burn, and there's way more fucking chants than there should be. But it's just like, it's a burn set. What do you want? Like a bunch of like flame tongue Kavus? Like that gets old really quick. So.
You're gonna say so.
I was noticing when we were going over cards the other day. I forget what we're researching something, and it's been a while since we've seen Bestow be printed on a card. I think Power Bracelet may have been the last one, and then before that it was like Lapis Cluster.
I was trying to bring back what's it called? The Edition Resonators.
Really?
I think it got. I'm sure. I don't know what's happening as far as design going forward, but like I handed them all my design files, so maybe you'll see it, maybe you won't. But I wanted to bring it back in a small amount. I actually didn't like Bestow. I thought it was just boring. It was just like, if you want to have like a tap edition, that's fine, do it. But like, it was just like you turned additions into artifacts now in our game, and it was just like, so now there's like, what's the difference between that and a regalia? Like, just what destruction affects it, which to me was kind of boring. So I prefer additions to have like global effects that are just like static, this happens kind of thing. And then I like regalia or like special things to have like arrest ability. And Koga's fine. I think Koga is like a good kind where both effects have taps, so you can't really abuse it too hard without like having multiples, but even then it doesn't work that way. So yeah, I'm not a big... Bestow is pretty low on my likes. The set that I was working on, or the cluster rather that I was working on, had milling, had self-milling, burn, creature-based combo, and what was it? Oh, and then standbys were back. Stealth. Like I had, my set was amazing and super fun. But,
I've been saying like for so long, I just want milling as a mechanic. It doesn't have to be good.
You have to base an entire cluster around milling existing, and like I did that, and like but you have to balance the non-mill colors against that strategy, and to make milling not trash, like it needs to be fairly good, and so to then make the non-mill colors not just get blown out, you really need like a global mechanic that interacts with it. So I'm not going to say anything because it may or may come to fruition at some point in the future, but like just know that all those polls and everything that I did that asked you guys, what do you want to see? What effects do you like? I saw them, I read them, and like I designed around that. So like my cluster was basically the first cluster, or the first set was all effects like that. They all had one theme. Second theme for the second set was all tribal. So each color had a tribe, and so tribal support. And then the third was kind of the Timmy set, where it was a bunch of huge effects that were all a little bit costly, but in combination with some of the other stuff, they would be fun.
Nice. And this is all the stuff that you had in your design notes, is what you're saying? Here we go.
That's pretty cool.
It's exciting.
Someday, if it comes to fruition that it's never going to happen, then I'll talk more about it and go into details.
Yeah.
Like, for now, that's
yeah.
So I think a lot of these questions have kind of just been covered based on like the stuff you've been talking about. I do have two last questions here though for you. The first one I'll say is, at what point did you know you would be leaving your position as global liaison? Was it a sudden thing, or did you know in advance?
Like third week of January.
Oh.
Yeah. So sudden.
Yeah. I got back from GP Osaka, good mood. Yeah, that was awesome, fun. I had heard Edgy had a board meeting. I was like, oh, that's weird. I didn't get told about that. And like considering I know more about what's going on in the company than anyone else, I think they would tell me about that kind of thing. And I didn't hear anything for a couple of days, and then he's just like, something terrible has happened. So I was like, you want to call me? Then I got that, and that I didn't know if that was going to affect me because my contract was obviously separate, but then they reached out and they're like, not walking.
That's a... go ahead.
It was a shock, but at the same time, like, as soon as I heard what happened to AG, I knew I was his right-hand man, so of course, like, if you lose the Civil War, you don't... America's nice if you don't know this, but usually when you lose the Civil War, you kill everyone that was on the other side. so that we can have harmony in the society. America was actually really unique in that we didn't kill the South and just slaughter them. So it more like what normally happens is what did happen, where you lost, get rid of everything that was the loser's side. And so I kind of saw the writing on the wall. But then it was just a matter of how much do I want to fight back, or what do I want to do, or how do I want to deal with it, etc. And I was just like, not worth the fight. I was kind of gearing up for my taking care of all this stuff, and I was like,
So I got the last question here. I feel like it's a pretty good one to end on, but it says, what does the game need to do if it does wish to continue supporting the U.S.?
Either hire me or someone like me to do what I was doing and communicate to the Japanese team in some capacity, and actually give that person at least some of the power that I had before. Like, I can't just hire someone to be a face and expect that to work. Like, the part of the reason why I worked as good as I did was because Edgy and I were so close. So when people weren't listening to me, I could be like, Dad, they're not doing what I told them to. And like, they can ignore me, they can't ignore their boss, kind of thing. So they would need to hire someone and actually listen. And obviously, there are many, many things and variables to consider, but I think that would be important. And honestly, they need to do more like good PR, but I think the biggest issue for them now is like U.S. players in particular, Europe as well, but more so I would say the U.S. are very in tune to the nature of their game. And like, let's be real, like 90% of people that liked me because they could trust that I had the good of the game in mind with the like kind of push that I could push. And so like, as a person, most people probably don't give a shit about me, but like for the company, I kind of represented like a good company that's open with communication, that wants to be upfront about what they're doing, and I stand by that too. Like, I tell my students, like, I'm the same way in class as I am in like corporate life. Like, I don't know if you guys know about tatemae and honne, but it's like public face and then like personal face. And I hate tatemae, which is like the, hello, everything's great, see whatever, thanks. And I always tell my students on the first day of class, don't give me that. I hate that shit. Like, it's so fake, and it just comes off as like, it comes off to me as kind of rude to think that someone's dumb not to recognize that. And so I'm always upfront about things, and like even joking around about porn and all the other shit. Like, I am unapologetically me. Yeah, I'm not necessarily everyone's cup of tea, but I don't really care. I'm consistent. I don't lie. I don't make anything up. I am who I am. And I think a certain amount of that is people enjoy a bit of genuine, like, goodness. And so I think they need to realize that that is their selling point, is that they can be like that. They can be good people. They can be genuine and like caring. And I understand profits are important, but at the same time, like, my father just kind of retired finally after 45 years in his company. And the reason why he was able to create and hold on to a company for 45 years is because people trusted him and the name was worth something. When I used to work for him in the summertime, like, my parents would say, like, don't do a job that you wouldn't sign your personal name to for everything that you do. And that struck me more literally, I guess, because like I could walk around the city of Rochester where I grew up, and like there were in like, you guys know Kodak, right? The camera company?
Yeah. Yeah.
The headquarters used to be in Rochester, and so like back when they were a large company, like my dad would do industrial electrician work for all of them, and like we would open up boxes from like 30 years ago. You know, our sticker is still in there, Finnigan Electric, like our company name, and it's my last name. So like it really was, don't do a job that you wouldn't put your name on it. And I've applied that to kind of everything. Like even I told Edgy, and the kind of direction we took was everything we do, I stand behind. Like even if we make a mistake, like I take that responsibility. Even if it's not my responsibility, I take responsibility for it. Like company messes up, that's on me. Like I was the face, and so it's on me. And I think that's my biggest concern, is that they're kind of going the opposite direction, where they kind of are doing things right now, at least in secret, not saying anything. And that rubs me wrong. Whereas like, to me, a good company that I can get behind is someone that's like, here's who I am. And like, I told Edgy last year, like, we need to like publicly say, yeah, we fucked up when we did like MOA and Vintu and that stuff. And people resonated with that. They're like, even Rudy was like, holy shit, they can like accept and say that they made a mistake. Like people don't do that. Nobody takes responsibility nowadays. No one wants to say, hey, I messed up. And so like for us to do that, I told them, just like, people will resonate with the honesty of like, we're human beings and we make mistakes. People like that much more than they want to hear like, everything's fine. Look over there. Look at, we're playing online Magic the Gathering, the new exciting thing. What is this table tap thing you speak of? And I think that is kind of, that's me, that's the company, that's kind of everything. That like, if someone is genuinely good, you're okay. Like there are some students that don't like me. Like they just, our personalities don't match up. That's fine. I don't give a shit. Like they still got to come to class and they can still enjoy the game. Like, but we don't have to be best buddies. But at the same time, a lot of people respect genuine. Like I've had students be like, "Hey, my girlfriend's over this weekend, and so I don't want to come to class on Friday." Like I'm still going to mark you absent, but thank you for being honest. Or like, it's just, you don't have to bullshit me and be like, "Oh, I'm not feeling good," and then I see you Friday night like out at dinner, and I'm like, so, I'm like, dude, I'm human. I know. So just, I hope for the future of the game that they recognize that. And unfortunately, that is not Asian culture to do that. And I'm sure that actually rubs them pretty much as wrong as you possibly can. But for America to succeed, and I think for EU to succeed, that kind of behavior is necessary. Like, Force of Will has to, it can't exist as just a card game. It has to exist as an anomaly that's kind of unique and special. Otherwise, like, there's lots of card games. There's none, if you just go by card games, there's lots of good card games that nobody plays or cares about. Like, Force of Will has awesome art. There's tons of good art out there. Like, I love Force of Will art. I'm always excited. But that's not enough to keep a game around. Like, what keeps a game around is a company who genuinely cares and wants to be there. Omoemos means I think so, Jeff.
Well, that's all the questions I had.
Yeah, anyone else have questions? I'd like answering.
Well, based on what we've talked about, or anything else, was there anything you want to say or get out there or address or anything?
Like, yeah, expand on, talk about. You got a lot of people who are hopefully going to watch this.
I mean, I think the only thing I can say is that I guess I could just describe more of my duties and stuff. Or it's easier for me to answer questions than it is for me to just talk, because it's just much,
well,
but like, go ahead.
I'll kind of wrap this into what is another topic we were originally going to talk about on the podcast, which was, and I'll sort of get your thoughts on this, because you sort of go back and forth on talking about the competitive versus local level and those different types of players. So what's your thoughts of both in the U.S., the 2 GPs getting canceled and the unpaid or paid invites being revoked, and then in Europe we just found out that all of their paid invites were revoked, and that was we found that out 2 weeks before one of their events were about to happen, which they were told was being paid. So like you're talking about communication and stuff, and I feel like regardless of which country you're in, that I feel like there should be at least a one-sentence statement that should accompany something big like that. And from what Rob said, they were originally going to cancel all US GPs, and he fought to keep them. And so we only got 2 canceled, which just happened to be the 2 we were going to attend, but no big deal.
So I think a big thing comes from like the value of opinions and where people put their stock in as far as like what they care about. So like I know what I know of who's running it right now is the person doesn't think very highly of and he thinks it's kind of a waste of money. And so like to him that's just a huge expenditure with no like he doesn't see it as PR. He just sees it as pure cost. And it's hard for him to recognize that there is a connection. Like what he doesn't see that I see. I'm going to kind of give you my perspective and then how he sees it. So what I see and from talking to people is local scenes that I've talked to, and even when I went to Vegas and stuff to hear from other local guys, like they even confirmed they sell more product, they have more people in the shop when there are events near them, besides like locals. And that's true in Japan as well. Like locals sells more, there's more people in attendance when there are more tournaments. And so that's why, like I said, my plan was to have the 10 events and to try and spread it all across the world, have it like at least 2 a quarter, and so if not 3 to really like have always there be Force of Will going on, if not like other like ARG stuff at the same time. So there's always something to be doing. However, the 2 full GPs were paid out of Force of Will pockets. And so I think a big part of it is in this restructuring, cutting all costs. And I'm sure part of that's why Rob and I's contract ended too. We were additional financial strains. And I mean, my contract was this much, but still, it's something. Like, it costs more money to send Rudy a couple boxes than it did for my monthly contract. So, to give you an idea, like, the boxes I sent you guys, like, that cost us $100 just to ship it to you. So, like, by comparison, like, they're paying peanuts, but it all kind of adds up a little bit. So I think that's where just removing all of that expenditure, so the paid flights, etc. Like, the one thing I think, so anyways, the locals gets more busy when there's events to be played. Events get more populous when there is better prizing to some degree. Actually, like, the same, it has a, oh Jesus. Help me out, guys. I just forgot the word. what's it called? Oh my god, I'm brain
Has
fried.
a correlation.
What's it called when the diminishing returns? Sorry, there we go.
Okay.
The diminishing returns on the pricing. So like up to a certain point, it's good, and then past that, it's just a waste. And so there, and I do agree with that. But my feeling was that like, and actually Ryan put it good at one point too, that the flying to Japan as a prize is actually really good, more so than money, I think, because initially you're just like, oh, I want money so I can pay rent and do whatever. But the chances that you're gonna leave $1,500 to the side to go fly to Japan is kind of low if they just paid you in cash. But if they say, here's a plane ticket and the only thing you can do with it is go to Japan, then you're gonna come to Japan and have a great time, and it'll be a life experience for you. And like that was the thing that made Edgy and I super happy. It was like, coming to Japan, this is the one chance that a lot of people are going to have to come here and play. And like, that's literally a life-changing experience for some people. Like, first time I came to Japan, I was like, this is fucking awesome. Like, I want to stay here. And so I think it had more meaning than just that. And so that kind of cycles through. And people come to Japan, they have a great time, they meet people from all over the world. You ban people from the game for stealing shit, etc. And you play Super Smash Brothers all night. But like that whole experience really brings people close together. And so like that's my interpretation. How some of them see it is just, we're spending all this money to rent a like hotel and rent all these rooms and buy plane tickets, and there's no way that this is recuperating us in any form of sales. We could just sell cards and not need to do this. And they have a hard time seeing how those two things correlate and be like, oh, some people are motivated to come to Japan.
Yeah, I know that's like not like obviously a main one, but it's a motivator for like Oscar and I to go to more events. Not that there's a chance that we'll win, but it's, it's sort of that carrot on a stick of like, because I know it's Oscar and I's dream was to go to Japan at some point, and now that wouldn't. Now that those paid invites are gone, regardless of whether it's going to happen, it was, that possibility is gone. So like that sort of like excitement, like when I went to play Pokemon at regionals, I never thought I was going to win, but going in and seeing that stack of booster boxes for the winner, I was like, oh, I got that motivation to do stuff,
That's like, and so I think that's why they are keeping it to some degree. Is like, I think Rob is right that without having the prize, and the competitive scene would fall off. But also like, even if people have to, like, honestly, like, the company doesn't, I think we pay for like 20 flights or something like that, and the rest we had 121 people. That means 100 people last year basically paid their way by themselves. And the cost to like print the cards is fairly low if we can just give them out at the actual event. So like the experience, I think, is the biggest thing. And I'm bummed that they're not doing it in Chiba where they've always done it. I know why they're not, but at the same time, like, I think that the experience is good. Like, I mean, even when I was playing, I don't know if you guys were around when I was just playing still, but like, I was generally top 8, top 16 of all the Japan GPs, but like, I literally always played garbage decks. Like, I played White Book. I played Arla Stone's Mono Green. I played Valentina 1. I like Kaguya 1 Stealth. Like, I loved playing those decks and like playing them well, but no intention of winning. And I was like, so I've been to every World since 2016, and I've never qualified once. So it's just been like, honestly, like my stamina, so to speak, for tournaments is actually pretty low. Like, I like playing for 3 or 4 hours, and then I'm just like, I don't care.
Oscar.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I know myself. Like, if the most fun I ever had in tournament was playing Green Arla Stones, the deck I played in the OGP, because every single round, not just game, round was over in 20 minutes. Because if I can't just OTK you, like, I don't block with Tamas and shit. I'm like, I'm not attacking. I don't care. Like, I'm either going to do infinite damage and you're dead, or just go to the next game. Like, if I Judgment and they had Black Moonbeam, I'm like, okay, next game. I don't care. Like, maybe I could win through some struggle that would take 40 minutes. I just don't care. Like, I want to do my thing, and then whatever. And that's the most fun I ever had, because I think I got like 11th or like 10th place playing like that.
I feel like you posted that to the US group when that happened, didn't you? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And like, a better version of that deck actually did, I think, like first or second. But I was just like, fuck it, my version. I was like done in 20 minutes. Go get lunch, and I was like, that's cool. Oh, you're all hungry and shit. That's cool. Refreshed. I had a little nap. I went for a walk. Let's go around. I'm ready.
Awesome.
Like that kind of thing. So like 2016, I was buddies with one of the Japanese guys who was like one of the super OGs. He got me in, and like I got cards signed and stuff. 2017, Jordan asked me to come and do like the write-up since they weren't gonna have streaming, and then 2018, I fucking ran. So kind of the upward progression, but also like it's more fun to me to be in the manager seat than it is to be a player now. And as much as I like being a player, like there's a different perspective, and like you're like, oh, I can go and ask, like, are they enjoying it? What do they like? What do they not like? What do they want to see, etc. And like that's why I went to every single Japanese GP, because I would always talk to the players and hear about it. And actually last year AG wanted me to go to the American GPs as well, but I had to work a lot of the time. So
yeah, no, that what was it, guys? Did you have something, Joey?
No, I just sounds awesome. I
love when you look like processing.
I do.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I do a thing where I'll have the question, and then I'll go and say the first three words, and then I'll be like, uh-oh, where'd it go? I do that a lot.
Here, let's play a fun game of tell me your rantiest rant, and I'll try to defend things. So I know all of you have some to varying degrees.
Okay. I'll start. I felt like most of the stuff, Table Flip was when it first came out. I was pretty miffed about. But then I saw Blade of Faith, and I was like, how can they print like one cost white removal? Like that just
Direction and Zero's Magic Light. Those aren't.
Yeah, but like Zero's Magic Light, I don't know. I thought that was pretty insane too when it came out, but.
Yeah,
maybe it's
it
just
ended up not doing anything.
Yeah,
I
just
mostly
think
because
Blade-
Zero ended up not doing anything.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey,
Zero was best.
Zero was good.
I love Zero. Joey made a whole career out of Zero. He's been riding that wave since for what 3 years now.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah,
It sparked Joe's corner.
I got my.
Yeah.
No, I just felt when I saw Blade of Faith, I was like, yes, sure. The only balanced part of it is that it's not quick cast, in my opinion. Everything else is just insane.
No, that actually what makes it unbalanced in this specific format.
Because
Right now, it's better than it's not, because it's not weak to Fair's spell.
Yep.
But I will say this. Misdirection is crazy good. I think almost too good, actually. And Blade of Faith is very strong. But there's a couple caveats I'll throw in there. Number one, White has literally never been the best deck in Force of Will history.
I heard Pandas just topped.
They did well. They did well. So I was super excited about that. But partly that, partly not having quick cast means that it doesn't interact with the combat step, which in our game, attacking is actually like almost too powerful, to be honest, because removing the blocker causes the damage to go through. And so like by the way of game mechanics, attacking is by default better than blocking. And so having a card that is slow, it can't surprise people in traditional ways. Like, it's still obviously countered by barrier and whatnot, and white has almost every color has barrier stuff now. But it's also like the big. So I'm sure you guys kind of noticed that a lot of the 5-drops now are kind of like the top end curve droppers for like every color. Yay! A lot of those either have enter effects that do something immediately, or they're huge and need to be answered. Like, what's it called? Jubei. Like, Jubei comes in and does something, but if you don't get rid of it super fast, with Koga, that card is gross. Or, I mean, Koga with lots of cards is disgusting. But, like, the fact that there are lots of cards in format and in cluster that protect against it. And yes, obviously, it's a 4-of that you run in your main deck. And that's my biggest problem, is that it's approach to Plowshares, where it's kind of like, yeah, this is the best removal in the format, that's an easy 4-of. But the kind of idea was, to some degree, like, Brunhild, and I mean all the rune rulers basically, right, need some kind of love, because the only reason people were playing Hanzo is because of the stone thing before, like in the last one. It's like, you weren't playing it because of the master runes. You're just playing it because you're like, I can draw 5 cards for 2 will. So it was one of the, like, they weren't up to par yet. And that's actually one of the design flaws, I think, about the current design strategy, is that by doing this power-up thing, you start out with cards that are too weak, and by the end, they're too strong, kind of. Like, they've gotten too much support. And so I think, it's a good master rune. I like it. It's removal. Like, the dies to removal is always going to be a thing. The fact that it's not quick cast, and quick cast save it spell works on it. And so many cards have enter effects that you're still getting your value out of it, and white doesn't have effect canceling, which blue and green have. So and black technically in a dual kind of thing. So like, that's kind of the drawback, is that you gotta kind of wait your turn and derp with it. But if you kind of notice, white is super mid-range, even with the what's it called, Sprout. Like, it's playing that super strong, grindy mid to late game, because it's got, like, honestly, Spear plus Misty is gross, and yeah, I know. So like, that's just like, I play this, I kill your guy, gain 12 life, and that was free, and now I'm getting the guy back. Oh, you like my board state? But and like, as you saw in V1, every color had a board wipe to some degree, and so like, the tools are and you're seeing now, like, New Valhalla is designed in such a way that there's not supposed to be just a straight right answer. And that was my problem with the green decks for a little bit, was just they could 1-for-1 stuff because they had so much card draw from Raya Cluster. So it was kind of like, oh, they're just trading 1-for-1 with everything, and then they can just kind of win with whatever they want. So taking that away, now, like, it really has to devote itself to some, like, really sticky threats, but that's okay. And so I'm happy with kind of how things are. And like, it has really strong cards. Mystillion is disgusting. Like, white's gonna get even more like mid-rangey stuff, and it's gonna get there faster. The bad side is, originally I was designing cards to like counter a lot of that. Like, there was a card I made that was like you make this much life, you gain life, you lose it instead, and it can't be attacked, kind of thing. Or a card that, if a non-stone produces will, it produces nothing instead, kind of thing. So like Time Spinning Witch and ramp creatures and stuff wouldn't do anything. And so like I had built answers for all that stuff, but they'll be used now. But anyways, I think that's one of those ones where white does that. I think Kirik's aggro against non-white is gross. Like Lucifer versus Kirik is awful. Like it's just such a dick slap when you're like, after the 5th card, what are your cards? Oh shit, I just took like 15. So
Yep.
There's a fair juxtaposition, and like machines, if you just had like, oh, I don't need to go wide or anything, machines will just fucking bend you over, and like with how wide it can go and how fast it can go. So I think there's a lot of potential, and I think there's still a lot of untapped potential. Like people are very meta into limiting what they actually think is possible. Like it takes people like Japan to really like wake people up, like, hey, Time Spinning Witch is a problem, play pandas. Like, what do you guys not get? It untaps the ruler, you can still call stones. Resonate untap. Like it has, and it can't bounce half your resonators. Ta-da! So like there's a lot of untapped potential that I think players just kind of don't take seriously, or good players don't take seriously. And I think that's unfortunate sometimes. Like a lot of the pro players, and I'm not speaking of anyone in particular, but they have too much ego that they think there's the Dunning-Kruger effect. They think they know more than they do, and they end up like pigeonholing themselves into what strategies they already know. Like, remember when New Valhalla came out, people couldn't properly evaluate runes because they had no idea how they worked in conjunction with the game. It's like the card evaluation was completely wrong. And coming back to it, like, okay. I mean, and some things I still don't like, but some things were okay. I think it's a neat design that happened, but I think that when you have new things, people don't know how to calibrate and look at them. Anyways, Blade of Faith, very strong. I don't think it's broken. It fits in weights. It's viable if it's broken.
My favorite thing that you had replied to when these guys saw table flip was yeah, but you can only have 4 in a deck. And they didn't like that answer. They're like, what? They're like, what the fuck is broken?
I thought
there's some bullshit where like if you like trip, I don't know if I think it still works. If you like double table flip a CL, you can pay 1 green to do burn damage to your opponent. And it's just like, yeah, but that's like a 3-card 10 will combo. Like, oh no, shit.
Yeah.
I also didn't like. I just felt like table flip was like, it felt like the be all end all combat trick, and it's like I feel like you never like if you're facing someone, you never lose a combat trick like if you just table flip.
Yeah, it's never dead. The downside. All right, let's compare here a little bit. So Blade of Faith. Blade of Faith loses to only protection, right? Because basically it kills everything. Combat trick is open to Feyer's spell, doesn't necessarily kill. It does generally when you mean combat, but if you just target it, it may or may not kill it. So you do need some kind of board maybe to trade into it as well, depending on targeting. Also, any resonator with barrier doesn't give a shit about it. And if you're not playing against a burn deck, the secondary effect is moot. Sandstorm might come back because of Sprout, but for right now, I'd be surprised if you saw Sandstorm. But I think it's one of those cards. Like, obviously, the designers are like, green's the jack of all trades. what they keep forgetting is that means stop making it the fucking king of all trades too. Like, it could have costed 2,
right?
But I do think that they wanted all of the Master Runes to be playable to some degree, and my beef was that some of them felt really like, why is this a Master Rune? Like, some of them just felt like way more flavorful and less powerful, but I think a lot of that is the designers kind of disconnect with the game itself. Like, they saw that Machines was really good at Worlds, and so Machines got kind of a bad Master Rune. And, like... And it was like, you kind of missed the point there. Like, you can see where they're trying to do what they said they were going to do, but they're looking at a different picture than you guys are. And, like, so it's... I do understand where they're coming from, but... And they're also much more concerned about, does the flavor feel right? Like, the Three Kingdoms partition plan, Fushi's, like, they're super excited because it's like, oh, look it! It's a combat trick where you're splitting them and flanking them and you're doing all these things and then you're going to attack and the only one that will survive is, and like, dude, just whatever. Like, it's a red board wipe for almost everything. Like, you don't have to tell me the storyline behind why this is a card.
Yeah,
and why it's
felt
like pretty much better version of Arthur's Master Rune.
It felt like those two Master Runes weren't as nearly anywhere as good as like the other two, really.
I agree, and I would actually say I personally feel like Fushi right now just feels almost, and I don't mean to say bad, but like it feels almost directionless. Like, it doesn't feel like there's a very good focus because it's like it's got dragons, it's got the beast thing going on, it's got a little bit of burn, and it's got like the advisors kind of thing, like the theme with all like the pad dong and Jagunuj and all those. Like, it honestly, it felt like that entire like ruler feels like it was made for like history buffs and like theme more than competitive. Like, and honestly, Fushi was the lowest of popularity and power in all the like things. So I think they were just kind of making it like an audience. Is it out of like 600 votes, it got 2 for popularity, and it got I think 1 or 0 for power. So like, I think there's a very small subset of people who are really like, yeah, Fushi, and so they're just like, all right, well, as long as the characters are cool and because what kills me is the artwork on The Secret is like one of my favorite, if not the best artwork in the game. Like on Zhugle, whatever. My girlfriend's Chinese and I asked her how to say it, and I'm like, I can't say that even if you.
It sucks because all they had to do is be like, you know what this deck is? Look at all these dragons, and I would have been like, oh, that's my favorite.
That's when I saw Neo Berserk Dragon, I'm like, okay, I get what this is trying to do, but like the whole thing Berserk Dragon in the original was it had 2,000 fucking attacks, so it was just like, if I hit them with this, they're going to be butthurt, and it had pierce and flying. So it was like, yo, bro, try and stop me. Like, I get they were trying to make it more like competitive by making it like a 4-drop and swiftness and blah blah blah. And it's not bad, but like it requires way more work now. Whereas like I would have rather made it like make it like a 15-drop, make it like a 2,500, and then give it swiftness and flying and pierce. So like you want to reanimate that super bad, but like it's just this super jank card, but you want to build around that because it actually can game. And they just got like a mid-range man.
I was telling Colin, like, Colin's idea of just like, oh, dragons, that's my favorite deck. Like, I was telling Colin, I think the very first time I heard about like
a bunch of
Fuji,
Charizards.
and when he brings a dragon in, and I think part of his artwork
Joey
or something, he's like
again.
riding on a dragon, and like I just feel like if they had some kind of mechanic where he got a dragon's attack, or he got to ride on a
I
dragon.
talked about this in some podcasts about riding
Yeah.
dragons. And I was like, what kind of mechanic is riding a dragon?
Thank you.
All you need to do is like Fuji comes out, he gets swiftness, and then he gains the attack and flying based on another target dragon that you have, and then he's so cool.
It would be like
See-
25 swiftness.
Yeah. Okay, maybe he doesn't need swiftness, but the point is he needs to ride a dragon, and that
See,
would be
Joey-
so cool. Maybe,
See,
maybe
I forget what it
maybe the
was, but
dragon
I remember
becomes
in
an
that
addition.
podcast, I was with Joey. I was like, "Oh yeah, do this," and Joey's like, "No, it does this." I was like, "What? No, where are you even going with this, Joey? This is dumb."
All right, how about this? If when you Judgment, he has super shit stats. You tutor a dragon into play. That dragon becomes a J Ruler addition, and then you can put it on top of the ruler or under, depending on where you want to put it. And then it gains the stats of the dragon that you
Yeah.
searched.
Yeah, it's super
And you
fucking
make it-
cool. It's
Joey
exactly
would
what I was
love it
thinking.
if the artwork of Fuji, his bottom half was cut off, and all the dragons have his bottom half riding the dragon, so you can put it under.
Just writing that card normally with like legs. Like, what are those legs from?
Oh, am I supposed to be playing this with another card?
Moving legs on the side of all the dragons that don't belong in the picture. So when you line it up, Fushi's card
Fuji.
is like backwards, so the art is at the bottom. So when you put them together, you have like two legs just flopping that are like the knees are broken, so they're just like flopping. in
You
the
put them all
air.
together, so it looks like Fuji's a centipede, like.
I'm telling you, man, Fuji, that was my pet. I don't love it. I would have loved it.
Did Oscar have a grievance?
I don't know. I had some questions and stuff like that. But so one is we were told here's the starter decks. Here's how they're structured. You know, power level 1 through 10. Set 1 or 2 will come out, and whatever's struggling, we're gonna make sure we make just stronger. I think some people would argue like seeing that is like Brunhild was okay. Brunhild's not really good, and now you're saying going to the next set, Brunhild could get better instead of just not doing anything. But will something like Loki get even better? Because I know like our locals, some people are really excited about Loki. Like, well, I really hope she does well in the next set.
So, I think it's a great idea. I think the biggest issue is that's almost impossible to implement perfectly in a physical card game. Like, V2 was basically done before Worlds even happened. There's an artwork's done, the effects are done, like there's a lot that's almost done, so it's really hard to like really completely apply what they said. And they can take my word on it, and like they did ask for like a write-up of like how are things going, and I gave them like the statistic the evidence of what's going on. But they also had like a story. The story thing always comes up, like and I guess my criticism of them was that was like a pipe dream of how they would like to do it, and I think their execution on that is iffy at best. Like, I would have, like, I mean, to me, I think obviously some decks got better. If I had to pick what decks were the worst that needed it the most, it wouldn't be by color though, but like, for example, Lich, Ushi, Isis, like Loki probably more so because she has and then Adam. Like, those five are particularly weaker than the others. But I think a part of it too, like Let me think. Like, for example, sometimes some of the cards are better used by other decks, and so that's kind of a problem. Like, I was making, like, right now you can make like two drop lich deck basically, right? So the reanimate two drops and the Faith in Darkness and what's her name, Joan of Arc and zombies, all that stuff. Like, you can make a really good deck with that. And that's supposed to be a Lich deck, but right now it's significantly better as Lucifer, and there's no reason to run Lich in that deck. Yeah.
After Oscar was like bending me over a little bit with his 2-drops, I actually went on and made like a pretty much exactly 2-drop based deck list. Just it brings out all those stuff, and I think it could be pretty nasty, but
that deck is, in the right matchup, that deck is disgustingly strong. But it honestly gets blown out by Blade of Faith because they're like, oh, that's cute, you can't die, adorable. Eternal's not a word.
and then it's like the card where it's like, hey, if this thing dies, it comes back. Oh, well, it's not dying; it's getting removed. Actually, it's Oscar played it against me.
Oh, well, unfortunately, I
it's the
yeah, Jerry said that, and I was like,
Cost,
rune,
not Soul Prison, but the other one, Chance Hash Rune, 1 cost from the Rune deck. Black?
Oh,
Black?
Immortality.
Yeah.
That, honestly, I thought that was one of the best. I put that in my white deck with Adam Stone as a surprise, because when they finally kill your Misty, you're like, oh, just kidding, it's back. And you're playing all white stones, so you're like, oh, shit. But, like, no, that card's really strong. But again, yeah, like, that's the thing is, if you play against white, then that deck is blown up. But then again, if you play against like red or one of the other colors, they really struggle with that. So, and I mean, it was kind of designed that way to some degree. But my bigger grievance was that the design philosophy of the entire cluster was based around not J activating very much, if at all, and rulers not being over important. And they succeeded in that. But the problem was that players want to do that still sometimes. And my biggest complaint of anything about V2 was the Loki support, which I was just like, it felt super unfocused. And it really, to me, I was getting annoyed because I feel like there's like 7 effects that are like, look at the top card of your deck and put it into play. Look at the top card of your deck, look at it into play. I'm like, this is not Shion. She's no ruler. She does nothing on the other side in Awakening. So like, give her more of like Fenrir kind of stuff. And they're like, she's already good. They don't need anything else, right? I'm like, you totally grasp the concept of competitive games, and like spending a turn to judgment for an 8-12 that's nothing is probably not gonna win you the game right away. So, anyways, my point to that was that the Loki was kind of meh, but like going into the next set, like one of Loki's Master Rune, I think is gross. Like, I don't know what kind of deck like you're gonna make with it, but her Master Rune is disgusting. And one of her support cards, it's supposed to be good with her, is way better in machines. But yeah, like she's got a weird deck type now. Yeah.
But I did have one last question. I don't know if Joey, you actually want to leave right now.
No, I'm good.
Okay, just one question.
I can do like another.
If every cluster has kind of had its own little theme going, I only think this because what Jordan had said, Regalia was kind of just tied to Ella's cluster. I look at Lapis cluster, and I'm like, well, there's a lot of dual colored things in it. Looking at this cluster, is it gonna be the Rune deck? Like, will the Rune deck not be seen kind of going forward? Was it just a plan for it to be this theme for this cluster?
Knowing how they design stuff, I think it's very realistic that they might not go back to runes again. I loved it because it made things super compartmentalized.
And I could also see them like using it partly. Like, I'm not saying one way or the other because I honestly don't know. The designs since I left were only up to a certain point, and I don't know if they're using my stuff going forward, if they're using someone else's, if they're just going to make new stuff, whatever. But like, I definitely runes are connected to specifically New Valhalla because the idea. People like kept saying like, "Oh, do all the old rulers get it?" And it was like, no, divinity is supposed to be a god gift, and like the Japanese is literally god power, and so like it's given to them from the god of their region, and so like it wouldn't make flavor sense for any other rulers to have it. And like actually, I had designed some remakes of like some of the original Valhalla rulers just as what are they called? Ascended cards. And like I gave, for example, on the back side of Loki, so on the front side it's Garmheld, and on the back side it's Loki. And so I gave Garmheld, I didn't give anything to, but on the back side I had given him like Divinity 2 or 4 or something like that as a way of like, you don't initially have access to it, but then you can choose if you want to play your ruler in such a way where you have different counts of divinity on different sides. So like you can judgment into the ruler, and then you have access to divinity, and then you have more reason to take care of your ruler as well, because if it dies, you then lose that access to your rune deck again. And so I thought there was a lot of like interesting creative potential there, but within the lore of what divinity really is.
Okay. That's super cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be super sad if it goes, because I really enjoy the rune decks, especially for it made me like limited formats.
Yeah, like I've watched a lot of people get blown out in limited because of it, and I think like New Valhalla, I'm super happy it has like one of the best limited formats, which is hilarious because we didn't print enough for people to actually buy more to like play more limited formats, but the experience is awesome with that. So yeah, I think it could come back like the same way Regalia can come back. It's just don't make them zero cost, or don't make them generic. Like I actually, one of my other design projects was doing like a super long time ago background on Valentina, and like going into her lore and everything before she was a psycho, and like kind of going through and bringing back Regalia, because I really want to make some of the banned Regalia like they're supposed to do, minus the stupid part. Like I really want to make a Prisia Regalia that pays for Sacred Beasts but doesn't like remove one loss from the game from existing, so like that kind of stuff. So I would love to see some of those things in less degrees with maybe a little bit of thought into them. So hopefully that'll happen.
Yeah. But I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you for joining us. It was awesome. Glad to pick your brain.
No problem.
Wonderful, Jeff.
My lunch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You were wonderful.
I know we need a whole podcast for you to complain, so we'll save it for then. I'll let you
Colin. Yeah, Colin didn't really get any of his rants. Sorry, Colin. I took it.
That's okay.
Don't worry about it.
Special time.
Yeah, I need dedicated time.
All right, guys. Have a good night. I think it's probably late for you guys.
It's about one.
I'm gonna go play some Final Fantasy, and hey, if you're bored, play Final Fantasy with me.
There you go.
Do people play Final Fantasy? All right.
Final Fantasy 11 is free to play. On
I think I did play a little bit of it, but I only got to like level 5 or so.
It's crazy, like autism levels of grindy. So I don't blame you if you're not into it.
All right, bye guys.
All right.
See ya.